Hello, welcome back to Targeted Individual Survival Network, Episode 4. This audiocast is designed to spread information and help other targets cope and combat with daily affliction through targeting that they receive, and to broaden information and maybe just help others along through my experiences and other people's experiences that I've interviewed and talked to. And used to be an activist for this sort of thing over the years, many years past, until I had to go underground to cope with the terrible conflicts in my life and effects of the targeting that I was under. Of course, that was all strategically planned by my harassers and targeters. However, surviving that, I've decided to share what information I have gained through experience. In fact, the 99% of the majority of every type of targeting that I go over in these episodes is stuff I have personal experience enduring as a recipient of those signals, of those targeting tactics, programs, and techniques. And I want to be able to share those with you, and I hope that you can share more of yours with me, as many of you already have over the years. This is how we build up our defensive arsenal as targets, is not necessarily spreading awareness to the public to try to convince them of our targeting, as we already know our mental health is sound, and in spite of what it may be diagnosed, if you've been tricked into the mental health diagnosis thing, many people are. And even the ones that aren't are still red flagged in the system, even if they've been evaluated. And that's pretty freaking sad, especially if they speak of certain symptomatic things in the targeting experience that we go through. They're quickly identified as TIs or red flagged in the system, and everybody goes to work in their own little dance of drama to convince you they're concerned for your mental health and well-being. Blah, blah, blah. Pass a mental exam. They can fuck off. Okay, getting on to some of the stuff that I want to go over still. I've been talking a lot about kinetics, and I want to get into an aspect of targeting that parallels kinetics, and it's how they map and use their signals, and they to kind of roadmap us. And one of those is kinetic mapping. Kinetic mapping is basically every part of your movement of your body, whether conscientious or unconscious movement, whether it's the movement of your organs, your muscles, whatever have you, or, voluntary or what's believed to be voluntary movement in many cases with our arms, our speech, basically the turning of our head, scratching, flicking of the hair, nervous habits. You need to pay attention to those things and when they may have started, especially if they're new in your life and they're not really common to you. And just all of a sudden, at whatever certain age, probably about the time you recognized you were being a target, you all of a sudden developed these new habits and traits and had new tastes develop. And part of the reason for that is stuff like kinetic mapping, which is a complete layout of your bodily movement, and also BIOAPI, biological. It is a biological map of the entirety of our being. Now, when this also is connected to programs like remote neural monitoring, which focus on the brain and the neurology of the human body, all these are in concert. They have a great and wide variety of things that they can do to manipulate us. And I'm sure many of you, like unto myself, have had to endure unimaginable, terrible things, from pains to aches to, unconscious stuff, if you're receiving microwave hearing B2K, they can really affect your mood and mindset in concert with these more physical systems and really have an effect on you and bring you down. You wouldn't believe the capabilities out there that some of these satellite programs have. But kinetic can also mean not just your movement, but outside movements, external kinetic. Okay? And externally kinetic by meaning maybe some of you targets have experienced this. I've talked to other people who have. When you're walking up the road and you're under a heavy psyops attack and you're just going up the way and a car runs past you, frequency will pick up in the wheels of the car. And if you are a sensitive target or one that is under heavy kinetic assault, you're going to pick up a certain audio frequency just from the movement of something else. This can also come through appliances, the sound of something else. You can also, if you're a recipient of microwave hearing, synthetic telepathy, etc., these programs, remote neuromonitoring, you could lean into something metallic and actually pick up a more amplified noticeability in your V2K transmissions. So I wanted to go over that, and please let me know if you guys have likewise experiences with things like these. With the BIOAPI, it's possible to launch in other systems that me and other targets I've talked to thus far don't fully understand. We're dealing with some pretty heavy-duty technology, and it goes from bottom to top. If you've noticed things, they're probably true, unfortunately, in some cases. And, that can be pretty devastating to some of us, to find out that our friends and people we've known are heavily or have been heavily involved at some point. So some of the other things that they can do physically to us is coughing their way into us. All of a sudden we okay, and then we noticed, at one point in our lives, we sounded different coughing or sneezing than we do now. And that's because they can merge into these kinetic mapping systems and BIOAPI systems and more or less remotely possess your body to some extent. And I'm sure some of you have already noticed this. Another thing that happened to some of us is jaw compression impulses. It's an electronic signal that causes your jaw or another certain part of your body to move repeatedly, like a muscle spasm, but you seem to be able to gain control of it at most points, but it seems involuntarily otherwise, and you're not sure why, and you're not sure why that just suddenly started happening in your life. And that's because of some of these signals. In fact, I'm receiving one right now, just, as many of you know, these people are smart asses. So they're going to do things to distract us when we're trying to focus. But the kinetic jaw impulse, also known slang-wise on V2K transmissions as the choosy chew, can cause one side or both sides of your jaw to compress, sometimes kind of like your teeth grinding constantly. You just all of a sudden pick up more of a habit of grinding your teeth. Well, this can lead to severe dental erosion over time and damage to your teeth, and you may lose them or lose part of them. Choosy chew's serious, and if it goes on for years, it can be quite damaging. And I'm sure some of you are also going through this, and I'm sorry if you are, because it's a terrible torture. It's a physical torture. They'll try to say it's TMJ and all other kinds of stuff you wouldn't believe, but there'll be things that are just diagnosably different from when you receive a choosy chew impulse. They also do it to get your attention. It can also raise maybe serotonin, I'm told, and definitely will raise melatonin in your system. And you may find yourself chewing before, after a long day at work, and they want you to go to sleep so they can do their overnight nasty work and try to map your brain further through remote neural monitoring, kinetic mapping, and the BIOAPI system. They can cough in through your breath, like I said, and many times they have the ability, which we're going to get into at the next episode, more on frequencies, but voice manipulation. They can make your voice sound different, man. And they can also talk to you, which we'll get into at a later time. But this has been more noticeable in recent targeting cases, in long-time targets like myself. Now, not that I have not experienced this, because I have, but it wasn't really a big thing in targeting symptology that, people were talked through as much. Now, I will say back around 2011, I started noticing some lightweight stuff. But over the years, it's progressed immensely, and it seems like they can even make. There's one guy they got. I know he's totally well and sane, and he's not diagnosed with Tourette's, but he sure can't act like it. So, I wanted to go over some of this stuff with you. There are ways we're going to be getting into to defend ourselves from this, and over some time, I'm going to be releasing every bit of information I possibly can that might be helpful to others, and let them know they're not alone, and there are ways of coping with these things. And I totally sympathize with you if you have been enduring any of this stuff. Understand that BIOAPI is also able to be interchanged and segmented. They have the capability of putting a sick person's composite signal into your BIOAPI by simply switching out a section of it, which they call segmenting the BIOAPI. They also do this in remote neural monitoring with brain mapping. And these things are actually real. I know it sounds far out to anybody who's not a target, and I'm 100% aware that they want to make us all look mental health to you. And, I'm one of those people that I don't care what you think, because I pretty much got my stuff together. I'm sorry about the tone on my phone there. I have to get the information out and exchange information with fellow targeted individuals, so we can start learning to become more formidable in our individual defense of the right to be and be truly who we are, not who they want to genetically modify or technologically modify. So it's important. Also, the greatest weapon, as I said in the last episode, is awareness of the effects our targeting has on us. Mental documentation, journalistic documentation. Keep a journal if you need to. Make sure you document the stuff or take notes about how it affects you. And it's going to have, not everybody's going to have the same effects, because there's different levels of targeting and different reasons that you're targeted. And none of those reasons, man, I don't care if you're like a total jerk, and I don't care if you're Jack the Ripper. No one deserves to be targeted. No one deserves to have their privacy invaded to that extent, and to be subject to manipulation at the hands of other people who are probably less civilly and humanitarianly inclined than most of the people who have to endure these tortures. At any rate, I want to thank you for listening, and I'll get back in another episode. Good afternoon.